Hi guys, my name is Christine, and today I'm talking about stopping self-sabotage permanently so that you can stop procrastinating and basically start feeling better about yourself. Because one of the things that I've noticed about my own procrastination whenever I procrastinate, whenever I do, I don't feel good. I feel good and I feel good about myself and I feel confident about myself when I'm taking action and I'm doing the things that I know in my heart of hearts that I need to do. Okay, so what I'm talking about here, though, in terms of self-sabotage, I'm more referring to when you sabotage on your dreams, for example, on your goals. So, for example, you might have exercise goals, you might have goals for a business that you've got, you may have goals for your money, your finances, and things like that. So I'm talking more about those kinds of goals, not necessarily, I always sabotage. I always sabotage my relationships, right? Because I know that can be a form of sabotage as well. You can sort of sabotage your life in different ways, but I'm specifically talking about your own personal goals that you have for yourself. So the truth about self-sabotage and the truth about stopping procrastination for good is that sometimes you're just going to have to force yourself to do whatever it is that you need to do, whether you feel like it or not, right? Because that seems to be the issue. Most people have an issue if they've got goals and they have also a tendency to self-sabotage and procrastinate. The thing is that they can't figure out how to get themselves to do the things that they know they need to do, whether they feel like it or not, because most of the time you're not really going to feel like doing whatever it is that you need to do. So, for example, today I was in one of those moods. I was in a mood where I could have easily procrastinated and not done anything, basically. And I feel that almost every day. That it's very rare for me to actually have a day where I'm like super motivated to do something. Luckily, I have a few techniques that helps me feel more motivated, and I'll give you a few. So, for example, on a day like today, and where I didn't feel motivated, I thought I just reread the list of goals that I have, and sometimes just rereading my list of goals that can inspire me to take action and to put me in a better mood. Sometimes I reflect on as well, like how good I will feel after the day is done and I've done everything that I need to do. That sometimes also helps. So also like sometimes setting up a reward as well is also something that's helpful. So for example, let's say you've got a to-do list and you say to yourself, okay, when I've done this to-do list, then I'm gonna spend some time watching my favorite TV show, or I'm gonna get myself a nice meal for myself. Or something like that. Giving yourself a reward really helps as well. So that's just a few tips there on how to motivate yourself a little bit. But when it comes down to it, sometimes you're just going to have to force yourself to do it. So when I'm having a particularly bad day, perhaps I've already procrastinated for like half an hour or an hour already in the morning. Some of the times the thing that I need is just to listen to David Goggins for a bit. So David Goggins made a book called Can't Hurt Me, which is an awesome book. But if you don't have the money to watch that, or to rather to read that or to listen to the audiobook, then I recommend watching some of his interviews and some of the podcasts that he's been on. And that might give you a bit of a boost. I mean, he's not for everybody. He does swear a lot, but he's someone that's really helped me when I'm having those really, really tough days and I need like a good kick up the bum, basically. So that's something that may help you as well. Listening to any of David Goggins's podcasts and interviews that he's been on. You can find loads of them on YouTube. So I highly recommend that you do that. So something that can help if you've had trouble with being consistent. So let's say sometimes you work on your goals and then there's other times where you don't. And sometimes it's always a little bit like that. And you kind of have this war going on inside your head where you're like, oh yeah, I'm really going to do this. And then you slack off and then sometimes you do it and then sometimes you don't do it. And you just have this like constant like, oh, I wish I had done that sort of like battle with yourself. It's almost like you're at war with yourself. Sometimes you're on point and you do everything you need to do, and other days you don't and you feel bad about yourself and you're like taking yourself down, tearing yourself down. So one of the things that it could be is that you've overwhelmed yourself with too much stuff to do, right? And this is an example I use all the time. And that is, at New Year's Eve, people have these grand goals and wishes and desires for themselves that they want to achieve in the next year. But usually when people make those goals, they put too much on their plate. So an example that I use a lot is someone that wants to exercise more. And they make a crazy goal, of, I'm going to exercise an hour every day for a year. Now, if that person hasn't been consistent with that kind of thing in the past, and they've procrastinated a lot on exercise, it's unlikely that they're going to stick to it. They may be able to stick to it for a couple of weeks, but eventually it's going to fizzle out. So what I recommend that people do then, when it comes to like these big grand goals that they have for themselves, is the goal is good. Like the goal to exercise is good, but doing it for that amount of time is not a good idea, because you're going to feel like a failure if you don't do what you need to do. Like let's say, for example, you only exercise for half an hour. You're still going to feel like, oh, I didn't do my goal. It was supposed to be an hour. So what I suggest people do then is whatever it is, whatever your goal is, whatever it is that you're trying to do, the action steps that you're taking, try and do them for just 15 minutes. So for example, just exercising for 15 minutes. Try and become consistent at that first. Or it could be like writing, like let's say you've got like a blog, just write for 15 minutes. Or if you're writing an essay, instead of trying to get the whole thing perfect, just create a sloppy copy. Or just write bullet points first of where you want to go with it, of what you want to say. And that will be a lot better for you, because what you're doing is that you're making it more manageable for yourself. Because one of the reasons that we procrastinate, and this is something I learned from Mel Robbins, is we procrastinate because it's a form of stress relief, because we've got a lot to do, and so we procrastinate because we don't want to face it, basically. We're hiding from it. So that's one of the reasons why we procrastinate. But if you've only got small, manageable tasks to do at first, then it's going to be much easier for you to do those things. And then what you do over the weeks, over the months, you just add on like an extra 5 minutes. Or let's say you're doing a word count. Let's say you start off by just doing 500 words a day of whatever it is. And then next month, then you can add an extra 100 words, like get it to 600 words a day. But that's your aim. Your aim is to just do 15 minutes. Now, when you get going, when you start doing 15 minutes, you might be able to go over the 15 minutes, because this is something that I've found. When I vowed to do something and I'm having a particularly tough day, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do it for 15 minutes. Usually I get lost in the process of taking action, and then I actually do more, right? So I might go up to half an hour, or I might actually do a full hour, right? But then you don't want to start thinking like, oh, okay, well, I've managed to do an hour, so tomorrow I can do an hour too. You don't want to do that. Still just aim to do 15 minutes, because you don't, like I said, you don't want to overwhelm yourself. Just because you was highly motivated today doesn't mean that you will be tomorrow. So it's good to just have like, okay, just 15 minutes, just 15 minutes of studying, just 15 minutes of exercise, just 15 minutes of writing, just 15 minutes of working on my website, or whatever it is that you are trying to do, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. So just start by doing it small. And there's a great quote that I like by Jim Rohn, and it was about success. And he said, success is a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Notice he didn't say perfected every day. So you don't have to do it for a perfect amount of time. You don't have to do it in a perfect way. But you're getting yourself in the discipline of doing it. And it's a few simple disciplines. They're not complex. A few simple disciplines practiced every day. So what is that for you? It could be doing 15 minutes of exercise. It could be doing 15 minutes of writing, or 15 minutes of reading. And then if you manage to go over it, that's great. But again, every day, just aim to just do 15 minutes. And then after you've been consistent at that, just doing 15 minutes for a month, then maybe you can add it. Or if you feel like you're catching on really fast, then maybe for the first week, just do 15 minutes. And then the week after that, add it to like 20 minutes or 25 minutes. So that's the point here. Like, try and become consistent first, because one of the reasons why you might be procrastinating and self-sabotaging is because you haven't got to a point where you're consistent with what you are doing. So it's best to start small so you can, right? And but also as well, you know, you want to make sure that you are pushing past your comfort zone too. Like, you want to be stretching just a little bit past your comfort zone so you're growing, because you don't want to be regressing, because you might already be able to sit at a computer and do something for half an hour that's like studying or writing, or you might already be exercising half an hour every day. So obviously you don't have to just do 15 minutes. Like, if you've already been able to do that consistently in the past, then maybe you want to do something a little bit extra. So it depends on what you're doing. But, you know, just remember that quote: success is a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Okay? Keep that in your mind, because that's what's going to help you get to wherever it is that you want to go. Okay? So thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to get in touch with me personally and you would like coaching with me, then please go to www.christineloveridge.com. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall talk to you again very soon. Goodbye.